This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Remember that one teacher who made a difference, believed in us, challenged us, or just made learning fun? Well, now's your chance to say thank you in a big way with iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher. It's powered by Donors Choose. Nominate an outstanding public school teacher who's gone above and beyond for their students to win $5,000 to stock their classroom with whatever they need. Help us say thank you in a big way to the educators shaping our future. Nominate your teachers now. iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
10:04. Here comes the scribe, Ben Goessling, courtesy of Standard Heating and Air and standardheating.com. Ben Goessling with the Star Tribune. He's covered the Minnesota Vikings for about a decade and a half now. There's a podcast called Access Vikings you can learn about via his Twitter feed at Ben Goessling. And we have the Friday newsletter. We have the every week newsletter at Ben Goessling via Twitter. Good place to start. The Minnesota Vikings, 8.5 to 9-point underdogs Sunday at Ford Field. 8.5 to 9-point underdogs at Ford Field. The last time they were perceived so beatable in the betting markets, which is a roundabout way of saying the last time they were this big of an underdog, Week 16, 2021 at Green Bay. 13-point underdogs. Green Bay killed them by 27.
That must have swung late.
And I think Bradbury caught a pass in that game.
He did. I bet that line swung late because that was the game Cousins missed with COVID. I bet that line changed once that news hit. I think it was like a Friday morning.
Sean Mannion, though?
Yes, Sean Mannion. That was the Kellen Mond. When Mike Zimmer was asked, do you want to see Kellen Mond? Not particularly.
Right.
Why not? I see him every day.
Bradbury caught a pass in that.
He did.
Like a deflection, right?
Yep.
I think we did see Kellen Mond for one drive in that game, too.
Yes,
Mannion, hurt his finger and had to get it wrapped or something, and Mond goes 2 or 3 for 5 yards.
Yeah.
I
think that was it.
What a game that was.
Some of the, with the Carson Wentz news from yesterday, and Carson may speak tomorrow. Do you know if he's speaking tomorrow?
I don't know for sure. I wouldn't be shocked, I guess, if he wanted to kind of give a valedictory statement, I suppose.
Yeah, he might speak this week, and it could be tomorrow. But nevertheless, it'd be good to hear from him about everything I, you, and we, and others are seeing on social media about, or maybe even in print. Maybe you hear it on the radio or see it on TV. Carson Wentz heading to IR, which... There's part of it, I'm just going to frame it up like this. There's part of it from, I don't even know how to describe it, fans, football, just people. Just people, where it's basically like there was a part of the game Thursday night where Kevin O'Connell went Mortal Kombat on it and looked at Khalil Mack and said, finish him, talking about his quarterback Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
That's how some are making it sound. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's been a lot of that sort of thing. And no, that's not what happened. I think there are a lot of interests here from different parties that can align or they can be competing in some cases. What I mean by that is Carson Wentz, as Kevin O'Connell said it after the game, was asked multiple times, do you want to come out? And he said, I want to stay in the game. And I'm sure in his mind, he knows the timeline with J.J. McCarthy. He knows this may be the last call at the OK Corral, so to speak, and he's wanting to stay in and play and try to help get the team back in the game, and then eventually it gets to a point where the pain tolerance is so much that it's just you can't go and it's over. But I think some of it for him is saying, I want to stay in the game, I want to play, I want to try to help my team come back from this. So you have that piece of it, and then the line they're playing behind too is you have Christian Darrisaw out and you have Brian O'Neill out. And part of that is they are trying to be careful with injuries in those particular cases. So, those things compete, I think, with Wentz and where he is kind of being exposed to more pressure because that offensive line is as beat up as it is. And then you have the question of Max Brosmer. I mean, one of the many theories I've seen in the last 24 hours is this idea that, they're hiding Max Brosmer because he's better than J.J. McCarthy.
You're kidding
and
me.
Kevin O'Connell knows it and doesn't want to have everybody see it.
You're kidding
on
me.
That's been all over the place.
Finish him!
And if that were the case, and Kevin O'Connell knew he had basically the answer to his quarterback problem on his bench, do we really think Kevin O'Connell is not going to play that quarterback? I mean, that defies logic too, but
I hadn't seen that.
That's been, I've seen that one a lot.
2 of his 4 years here, he has experienced significant strife.
Yeah.
He has been doing everything he can to finalize that spot.
Right.
That the answer is sitting right over there, but he won't do it.
But it's not the preferred answer because it's not the one he drafted. It's like, this is Trey Lance, Brock Purdy stuff, I suppose. But I think in a lot of cases, and it will be interesting to hear if Wentz talks, because the sentiment after the game was I wanted to fight through it as far as I could.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, from what I understand from yesterday, he found out after that game in London how bad this injury was. In other words, when he's preparing for that Philly game, he knows the same thing. He knows the same risks. He knows the same pain he's going to have to manage through it as he did in the Chargers game. And he gets through that one, obviously had a lot of red zone mistakes in that, and the team had a lot of red zone mistakes in that game, but he gets through it, plays the whole game, practices in full the whole week. So this was not something that became an issue for the first time on Thursday night. This is not something the Vikings learned about on Thursday night for the first time. And I don't believe, at least from what I know at this point, that the injury was any more severe. They had a bigger harness on it. You're trying to figure out what's going to work better to stabilize that thing. But my understanding is the damage was done by that hit in London. I don't think this got progressively worse, other than, you're just trying to manage through a lot of pain.
Swelling and pain.
Yeah. You get to a point where it's a lot to deal with, as we all saw Thursday night. But yeah, I think some of this is, you have a quarterback that has some agency in this too, and that discussion, the quarterback's always going to have a voice in, am I going to play or am I not? And I think that's part of what happened here.
What is the Scribe's take on doctors, legitimate doctors, MDs, splashing on social media while not having access to the medical team here, or being on the sideline, or having access to the head coach?
Yeah, that's always tricky, because you do have, you have doctors who are obviously more educated and more informed on what these injuries could be than the general public is. But I have a hard time with it when doctors don't hedge it by saying, I don't obviously have access to the medical records. Like, if you're offering a take and saying, I am couching this with the caveat that I don't have the medical records, it's easier for me to be like, okay, this is in good faith, than if it's, this is absolutely what it is. They need to do this. You don't have enough information. And I know that social media generally is not a place where the phrase, I don't know, it could be this, but I don't have enough information to make an informed, complete statement on this. That doesn't tend to play well on social media, but I tend to, call me old-fashioned, I guess, but I tend to feel a little more affinity for those who can be like, hey, I don't have everything here, but here's my best guess at it.
Yeah, I feel like they're really mostly battling optics here in some respects, like actual literal visual optics from the standpoint.
It's hard to watch.
That he's in agony.
Yep.
And you know that you have the healthy cat on the bench, Max Brosmer.
Right.
And so, the one thing, I think you can have conversations about when you finally did decide to put Max in at that point, because Carson, frankly, was not, the team in general. That's why there's multiple things that you need to address with this team. Conversationally, the team wasn't playing winning football.
No.
So the idea, does Carson on some levels provide you with a better chance to win than Max Brosmer? I think the answer is yes, but nothing was working right on Thursday. Yeah. But the optics of him in agony.
Yeah.
And you have to, they did not force him into the game. Carson's not sitting there going, guys, I just need a break. Guys, I just give me a breather. Let me have a drive off. Yeah. And Kevin O'Connell's literally pulling him onto the field. That's not a thing that happened.
If that was the thing that happened, you'd see some players probably playing that don't.
Yeah. So I just think the optics thing with the agony in combination, Ben, with if it was Brett Rippon on the bench and not the undrafted Gopher Cat with a lot of built local equity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we're discussing this in the social media sphere the same way.
No, I think that's right. I think there is a particular component to this because it is somebody that the local fan base knows and likes and played well for the Gophers and played well in the preseason. I mean, we did do this a little bit with Kyle Sloter at times where he played well in the preseason and, hey, this is something that could be intriguing. But again, if the Vikings, seeing him every day and seeing him throughout training camp and seeing all of these quarterbacks for as much time as they have, had reached a conclusion, this is the guy that gives us the best chance to win in 2025, they are not keeping him on the bench because of trying to hide some admission that he's better than the guy they drafted 10th overall. I don't think that a head coach who is paid to win games now for a team that likes to be in contention regularly is going to actively undermine that because of an optical question on, is it the quarterback that I drafted or is it the quarterback I signed as an undrafted free agent because I have a good local relationship with the head coach, which means I got to see him at the pro day twice, which means I liked him, which means we brought him in. I mean, there is that component. There's a component to the local angle here, but I don't think that is going to be such that there's some grand conspiracy to hide Max Brosmer because of the optics of it.
How far down the road or when do you get on this path, if you even do, of figuring out if they're going to sign a veteran this week?
Yeah.
Are they going to make a trade? Or are they going to go with the kids? Go 1-2 with the kids into the Lions game? I'm cool with that if they do, for whatever my opinion matters.
Yeah, I mean, and they did fill the roster spot yesterday with Ben Sims, and not that won't create other opportunities to make roster moves later this week. I mean, the first names I would look at would be the guys that have been here. I mean, if you can bring Desmond Ridder back here, I think Brett Rippon is on a practice squad, maybe with the Colts.
Yep.
You could do that, I suppose. Those would be the automatics that I would think about, just people that have already been in the offense and would give you another option. I think they're going to have to find another quarterback. I don't think they're going to want to just go with two in the building and not have a third at some point. So I would expect there's a quarterback move here this week, and we'll see if it's somebody outside of those two names. But that's the first place my mind goes is those two guys. And, you could make moves. I mean, you could try to make a trade for Nick Mullins, I suppose, and I'm conjecturing here. But, people that have been here and would know the offense, I think some of those things could be options. But, I mean, the easy solutions would be guys that have been here this year already and maybe relatively easy to acquire. I do think they're going to be looking in that market, though.
I watched minimal football this weekend outside of Green Bay and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Kind of ramping up for that game. The afternoon games, when I had an opportunity to watch, weren't that great. So absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's basically the way to look at it.
Yeah.
So, anybody happen to know how Cousins played in that Atlanta game? Looked at the box score, didn't look great.
I don't think it was very good. I didn't watch it either. I was up in Duluth celebrating my 20th wedding anniversary with my beautiful wife, so I watched very little football this weekend.
Congratulations on that.
Century anniversary.
Yes, we had very little football. I got back home and watched the Packers and the Steelers on Sunday night, but yeah, had very little on other than that. But yeah, from what I saw in the box score and just a little bit of hurt, I don't think Cousins played terribly well.
No, I don't think he had any turnovers in the game. I think it was we watched a little bit of ourselves on Thursday night. Felt like everything that could go wrong for the Falcons. They didn't have Drake London in the mix.
Did they get killed?
Was Kyle Pitts even playing? I forget.
Bijan had a bad game.
They lost, I think it was like 34 to something.
Yeah,
like
they've
7
got
or 10. Like
it
was really bad. Yeah. So is that a thing? I mean, we can move on from the idea of trading for Kirk Cousins, right?
No, I don't.
We can move on from that.
No, I'm just satisfying those who live in the realm of the low-hanging fruit. So therefore, that's going to come out.
Yeah,
because it's convenient,
will, yeah.
It's easy, and I figured we would just bring it up. Ben Goessling at Ben Goessling via Twitter covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. So, would you make McCarthy into Brosmer 1-2? Prohibitively favored this week into this game.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I don't think it's terribly likely that you bring somebody in that is going to jump Max Brosmer as the number 2 spot. I mean, this is probably a little bit like the Josh Dobbs thing in 23. If you bring somebody in, you're trying to get somebody up to speed relatively quickly, especially if it's not somebody that's already been in the building this year. But yes, I would expect it's McCarthy to Brosmer, and then you're going to want somebody else as an emergency third. I would expect that's probably how it goes.
And in fairness, and with respect to J.J. McCarthy, until they rattle off a consecutive games, really just consecutive games, and let's say consecutive is 3, but until he starts making all these dances, who is he? He's somebody who played in a preseason game and played well, and then nobody saw him again for a year. Didn't exactly know why for a while, but he was gone.
Yep.
And then you get excited about him, and he plays a little bit in that Houston preseason game, and then he's gone again.
Yep.
And he's gone again for a month and change. So am I going to say injury prone? That's unfair to say that, specifically with the high ankle and the freakish nature of the first year he was in the league, the preseason game. But nevertheless, until you see him play 5, 10, 15, 50 games consecutively, you just need to be on alert with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And where we're at the moment is we've seen him for 2 games, and the second one was not good, and a lot of the first one was kind of disorganized and disheveled a little bit until they can get things going again in the fourth quarter. So the ledger is stacked heavily in favor of time we have not seen him at this point, and he needs to do some things to balance the ledger. I guess I'd put it that way.
Yeah.
Because, yes, he does need to have some consistency. He needs to have some developments, some things that people can grab onto to say, okay, yes, there is progress here. There's some consistency, and there's some durability. I mean, that is the thing, as we talk about Kirk Cousins, that is the one thing that you could hang your hat on with him in 6 years here is he was going to be on the field just about every week, and that stretch of QB durability in this franchise's history is not very common. So you need quarterbacks that you can count on to be there every single week, and I think until J.J. McCarthy does that, there is going to be some of that question because that is such an important attribute for a quarterback, and he needs to kind of tip things back in that direction.
Josh Allen, pretty good quarterback, right?
Yep.
Josh Allen, 2018, first season. Now there was that victory as a 16.5-point underdog at U.S. Bank Stadium, where he's jumping over Anthony Barr.
Yeah.
Now he had 2 rushing touchdowns in that game. I think he had 1 touchdown, 0 picks in that game. However, Josh, one of the best in the NFL, if not the best right now.
Yeah.
So 2018, that's not that long ago. His first season, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 58% completion.
Yeah.
Bo Nix, Drake May. I mean, when we saw Drake May at the joint practices, I was like, okay. I mean, he's okay. I mean, there's nothing.
Really? I was impressed with the first day. I mean, the second day was maybe a little less, but
right. Well, the second day counts.
Yeah.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like typical for young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Hey, wow. Ugh.
Yeah.
So the
you're
point
right.
being
You're
here,
right.
Nix and May have started a combined 45.
Yeah.
But early in their runs, there were a lot of mistakes and a lot of growing pains through which Peyton and/or at that time Gerard Mayo, they had to endure.
Yeah.
So with May and Nix, clearly it's taken off. Clearly it's taken off this year, and they look like they belong. With Josh Allen, same thing started end of his rookie year.
Yeah.
Point being here is to predict McCarthy will play this weekend, then play the rest of the year, and have a 3-to-1, 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, completing 68% of his passes. Yards per attempt is 8.5, and he runs for 10 touchdowns.
It's probably a lot to ask for.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not a lot to ask for nearing the end of the year or next year.
Yeah.
Point being here, and I'm going to bring this up in much more truncated fashion with O'Connell, just wondering what the number is, like how many games before you start to know really what you have.
Yeah. I mean, I remember there was a lot of this discussion with younger quarterbacks I've covered of when do you say, okay, is it a full season's worth? Is it 16, 17 games worth? Or is it more than that you have to say he needs this amount of seasoning, this amount of kind of incubation period, I guess, before what you have? I think a lot of that question comes up. I tend to think when you look at, my mind goes to guys like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones,
Mayfield's
obviously.
a great example.
Yeah, two of these three guys were here last year, so there's a tie-in to this as well. But you have a lot of these quarterbacks. All three of these guys were top 10 picks. Mayfield was the number 1 pick in the draft. I think Darnold was number 3, where they bust out with their first teams. And everybody says, no, they're done. They're washed. This isn't going to work. And in some cases, like Darnold, you're bouncing around to different teams before you get in the right spot and figure it out. But those guys are in their late 20s at this point. And you look at quarterbacks that have dominated in the NFL in recent years. It's Tom Brady in his late 30s, early 40s. It's Peyton Manning in his late 30s. It's Aaron Rodgers winning MVPs in his late 30s. There is something to be said for time on task at this position and just getting to the point where everything moves faster because, I've seen this defense 4 times. And I can go back to 20, we'll fast forward this, say it's 2028, and J.J. McCarthy can say, I can go back to 2026. I saw this look against them, and this is what happened. I can catalog this. This time I need to do this, and you're processing all of that. And you see quarterbacks process that in a matter of less time than it took me to say it. So that stuff doesn't happen until you have some experience and some time in the seat, so to speak. And I think that sometimes why you see, the rookie contracts and the general lack of patience we have in society forces people to make decisions on these quarterbacks faster than they probably develop. But you see guys that hit with their second teams, like Mayfield, like Darnold, like Daniel Jones, in some cases third or fourth teams, whatever it is. The reason to have patience with a quarterback, I think those guys are examples of that. And it just is a reminder of how long it takes for this thing to click for a lot of guys, because it is really difficult to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, where it kind of tells you then that there's no great formula for finding that QB. Because the unicorns, in some respects, are the Tom Bradys and the Peyton Mannings. You think about that generation. At one point, it was you can only win a Super Bowl on a quarterback's rookie contract.
Yep.
Then you think about Flacco early on with the Ravens. You think about Russell Wilson, more recent example, and how his career has completely fallen off a freaking cliff.
Right.
And meanwhile, you'll have a Patrick Mahomes that sits for a year behind an already playoff team, steps in, and it's been dynasty-like ever since.
Yeah.
The sure, true, and tried approach to finding one of these guys and getting the right answer still is difficult, and in some ways not defined in terms of a specific path to get there.
Yeah, it is tricky. I remember talking to Ron Wolf about this probably, it would have been 2014 when the Vikings were in the quarterback market back then, and obviously made the trade for Brett Favre, had drafted Matt Hasselbeck, he drafted Aaron Brooks, he drafted, I think, Mark Brunell. Had a lot of quarterbacks come through there that turned into solid NFL starters and is in the NFL Hall of Fame now in large part because of the trade he made for Brett Favre. And one of the things he said in that conversation is, I've missed on quarterbacks before. This is a guy that is known as one of the great finders of quarterback talent, one of the great scouts of quarterback talent in the modern era. And he's still like, it's not easy to do all the time. So I think where it gets tricky is when you are, they've put their eggs in this basket, and I think they're going to be there. I think that decision makes sense. It does expose you to the idea that you're going to miss, because it is possible, if not likely, that you're going to miss on these quarterbacks just because the hit rate is not very high. But that does come with a risk to reputation. It comes with a risk to job security, all of those things. But you have to go through it, because if you do hit on the guy, the benefit, Ron Wolf is in the Hall of Fame because of one decision. Mm-hmm. He had a great career, obviously, other than that. But the one decision he made to get Brett Favre then opens the door for everything else they did in the 90s. Bill Polian is in the Hall of Fame because of, probably 2. Getting Jim Kelly and then getting Peyton Manning. Mm-hmm. It's the benefit of it is that if you hit, this is what Brett Veach in Kansas City too. If you find the right one, you are living off that decision for 15 years. So the payout is really great, even if the odds are long. So it's why everybody comes back and plays the game. You have to, because if you find that guy, you have a lot of things you just don't worry about for a really long time.
Ben Goessling, beat writer, Star Tribune, covers the Minnesota Vikings. More conversation about said squad around the corner, but first, here's Double B.
The cash thing, the fan or 2-minute at Junk Truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is win. A keyword win. KFAN.com. Keyword win. If If you want to chime into what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows, you can make your voice heard on the Brad Sean Bryant KFAN text line. So let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard text message and data rate supply.
Each and every Tuesday, we offer up a talk back for head coach Kevin O'Connell. Nordo, what's the best way for Rube Nation to accomplish that?
Yeah, free iHeartRadio app. You hit a microphone while you're listening to our station. You'll see it. You hit that. You can record up to your best 30 seconds. And you send it in, and it's just your name, where you're from, and a question for the coach. And I will sift through them and find one for Kevin O'Connell when he's in studio with us at 11.
Questions or comments for the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, via the free iHeart Audio app. You can do that now. Kevin will be here about 25 minutes from now. Ben Goessling, who covers the team for the Star Tribune, he's with us each and every Tuesday at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. I mentioned from the outset the podcast you take part in, Access Vikings. Mm-hmm. Any controversy? Anything controversial from Access Vikings in that podcast of late, like disagreements, debates? You guys squabbling a little bit or what?
I don't think we've had anything terribly squabble worthy lately. I think we Thursday night I think it was just Emily and me after the game. We'll do one this week, but it's been I think usually she rolls her eyes at all of our old 90s movie references and that she doesn't understand. So we've been actually, one of the things we've been doing that's been kind of fun is Andrew and I will get on some rabbit trail about some game that happened in 2015 or something, and we basically made a list of, hey, here are all these old games you need to watch to probably understand the context of all the stuff we're talking about, but just like moments and it's recent Vikings history, because this is year 14 for me, year 13 for Andrew, so we're kind of limiting it to that scope of time, but we've given her a few before that as well. But that's been the thing lately. We've kind of sent her on a homework project of go watch some of these. Yeah, we did not pick all the fun. We gave her like the Buffalo game in 22, obviously.
Okay, that's good.
But we gave her like the game in 16, because we talk about that a lot.
What about the Kamara game in the pandemic when he had 6?
I don't know if we had that one on the list. We had the 2016 one in Green Bay. Yeah, where nobody wanted to play road shadowing Jordy Nelson. I mean, that game, we told her, like, we bring that up enough.
Rodgers near half on the scramble. Put Xavier Rhodes on skates.
Yes.
Thielen goes for 200, but I think Jordy had 2 touchdowns in that game.
Thielen had a big day. Oh. But so we've put some of those in there because just some of those moments that had some ramifications that carried into future discussions. We've given her some of those too. So that's been probably a lot of it lately.
Well, but isn't there a 49ers game? Not against the Vikings, I don't think, that Emily needs to know about. It's the one where, to put the Carson Wentz situation in context, the 49ers had a safety named Ronnie Lott, who I believe had part of a finger amputated just so he could play.
Yes.
So that's kind of like decades old context.
I think it got cut off and it ended up on the guy's helmet, didn't it? Like the fragment of his finger ended up.
What do you mean, like stuck like a piece of turf
I think
in the face mask?
Right. Well, and he had a decision, tap out or play, and he said, cut off the tip of my finger, I want to play.
Yeah, there is some
Some
stuff.
are just wired differently.
He's a football
Jeff Overbaugh in 2018, he loses part of his finger with the Vikings, and we had that game in there. The Thursday night game, Jeff Overbaugh, the long snapper.
Because I'm thinking
at the Coliseum.
Kevin McDermott, I thought it was it's McDermott.
Well, you're right. Yeah, McDermott lost it. McDermott was actually here. Overbaugh came in because of that.
And Overbaugh blew or played into blowing the miracle game.
In 17.
Yeah, when he in the playoff game, when he went to the wrong guy, there was a blocked punt and the floodgates stayed open.
Yes. It's McDermott and Cullen Loeffler were actually here yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, they were. I think because McDermott's like a financial planner now, so they were talking to players. There was like a financial education meeting that I think he was part of. But yeah, both those guys were here yesterday.
So with under the near absolute assumption, J.J. McCarthy is the quarterback at Ford Field this weekend. Who do you think gets most of the looks with McCarthy at the helm.
The most touches or the most targets?
The most looks, yeah. I mean, like, are we just going to target Justin 10 to 15 times, singles and doubles? Hawkinson's, he's been a little nondescript this year, but tight. It's when you think, well, at least when I think new, I think running, swings to running backs, screens to running backs.
Aaron Jones, come on down.
And tight ends.
Yeah.
Because it's generally within 20 yards.
Yeah, the other, I think that is correct. I would agree with that you're trying to make things a little more user-friendly. I mean, kind of like we saw. I mean, he hits the throw to Aaron Jones in the Bears game. The other guy I'm really curious to see, though, is Jordan Addison, because J.J. McCarthy and Jordan Addison had a lot of chemistry in training camp, and that was a lot of the time where Justin Jefferson was out with the hamstrings. So Addison was getting a lot of work, a lot of looks from McCarthy as the first read on those plays, and I think they developed more timing through that than you would expect that would have otherwise happened if Justin Jefferson is in those training camp practices. So J.J. McCarthy has not played with Jordan Addison yet. He hasn't played with a lot of the offensive linemen either to this point, but I am very curious to see what that looks like with Addison.
Is there one thing when J.J., again, presumably J.J. McCarthy is going to start at Ford Field on Sunday?
I would be very surprised if that's not the case.
Is there one particular thing that you're looking for? Okay, JJ Take 2, 2025 edition, where it's like, okay, you've had the time off and we got the ankle, we got the injury and all that, limited opportunities to practice, all of that, full week this week. Is there one thing you're looking for JJ Take 2 that says, okay, that's a graduating factor, a graduating element of his game that maybe we didn't see through those limited 8-quarter experience early in the season?
Yeah, I'll start that conversation with apologies to Guardsy because I'm going to bring up the footwork. Guardsy is very tired of the footwork conversation.
And I'm with the foundation.
Yeah, but it is the thing that Kevin O'Connell has stressed quite a bit, and we've heard a lot about it. And I think that's instructive because it's something that they're going to be looking at pretty closely to see, did this get better in the course of the game? So is he throwing from a better base, balance, and body position, to use the Kevin O'Connell phrase? I'm interested to see that. But the other thing is I'm interested to see how quickly does he process things, because we didn't see him get rid of the ball terribly quickly in those two games. I think his time to throw was over 3 seconds. He's got to work a little faster in some of those settings where it can, I suppose, go either way, because there's times where he could hold it a click longer and there's a guy open. But I think generally developing a little more timing, that little more intuitive feel of when can I go at the same time that a play needs to develop and a route needs to develop, the timing of playing the position, I think, is something that he needs to improve. Yes. And I'll be very curious to see if he does a better job of that, especially with a defense that likes to grab receivers and a defense that's going to have a pretty good pass rush.
Hey, man, really cool that you came out here. We do this every Tuesday. Yeah. However, I didn't know there weren't coordinator press conferences today until tomorrow. Yeah. So I appreciate you doing us the solid and making that drive out here. Ben Goessling at Ben Goessling via X. Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. That's where you can find Access Vikings, the podcast Ben is a big part of. News du Nord is around the corner. Then, about 20 minutes from now, Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, joins us at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center and on KFAN.
The Fan welcomes Trans-Siberian Orchestra for 2 amazing shows at Target Center, December 28th, 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Tickets on sale now. Get complete show details, including a link to buy tickets, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
News du Nord brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. You're feeling the felt all year long with poker, blackjack, and table games. Their patented NFL Pro Pick'em Challenge is on Thursdays as well. Weekly winners, you just jump down to Shakopee. It's one of the best spots in town. Why wouldn't you? Go to Canterbury, pick the NFL games over the course of the weekend. They'll have weekly winners. And at the end of the season, somebody's going to win free fuel for a year thanks to Quick Trip. So Canterbury's the best. Check them out, CanterburyPark.com. Wild fans, 7 p.m.-ish puck drop tonight. Winnipeg in town at Grand Casino Arena. Team needs a W. And you heard it, whether it was PMB yesterday, Pierre-Marc Bouchard, or it was Brian Rolston earlier today. They're celebrating 25 years of Minnesota Wild hockey. Big appreciation to Aaron Sickman and company for helping us arrange those special guests. But in the end, team needs a big-time W. Let's get 2 points against those Jets tonight. You're going to get to hear that right here on your home for Wild Hockey, the Fan. I didn't stay up for all 18 innings. I assume you did not either. 18 freaking innings last night it took for Game 3.
Jays were up 2 or 3 when I checked out.
Yeah, and it was 4-2 in the fourth inning, so Toronto got the bats moving, and then I believe it was the Dodgers who would then tie it up, and it was back and forth the rest of the way. Didn't see any runs from the seventh inning on until I believe it was Freddie Freeman in the bottom of the 18th to get it done. I was texting you, though. I mean, this is a long, boring conversation about, our baseball team and just kind of stealing the spirit and love of the game. This World Series has been fantastic. Just thinking Shohei Ohtani is just gonna muscle this team. He comes alive in the Brewers series, and it's over. If it's not a sweep, it's going to go 5 games. And the Dodgers, since losing Game 1, have now found their way to a 2-1 lead. But last night, man, I mean, how game are these guys? Whether it was Scherzer and Glasnow to start, neither certainly were unscathed in the affair. But you're seeing Varland stretch to an inning and a third. You're seeing guys come out of nowhere. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, I don't know if he'll pitch in his MLB career again. Pitched a third of an inning to get a big out, 2 outs, bases loaded. I forget which inning that was in. You're stretching Will Klein to freaking 4 innings because you run out of pitchers. That, clearly, and I fell asleep after Kershaw left the mound and he got out of that inning clean. But it was just so much drama last night, some defensive plays. Jays are trying to stretch runners to get the extra base. They got tagged out a couple of times, one time at home, another time trying to go first to third. I think it was the second baseman, Edman, with one of the defensive plays of the game and maybe the series. Like, it's been a hell of a lot of fun to watch these two teams, despite maybe being in the cornfields and being like, wow, they got all the money, they got all the players. It's been super entertaining.
The early stages of the game had some umpire-related controversy. And I don't know the home plate umpire's name, but I don't know if he's always like this. He was very slow and deliberate with some of his balls and strikes calls.
Oh, I saw that later too.
Yeah. So it's Bo Bichette is on first base, and I think Dalton Varsho is at the plate. It's 3-1. And, the home plate umpire blew a call. There was a fastball that Glasnow threw. It was high. It was a ball. But nevertheless, he's not the first to ring somebody up on something that's inches away from a strike. The thing is, it took him like 3 seconds to go, for a strike. Okay, now that would have made it 3-2. Bichette and Varsho thought, because he didn't say anything, it was a ball. Varsho starts walking to first. Bichette starts walking to second. It's a ball. So Glasnow gets the ball back from Will Smith, the catcher, who's pointing at first saying, throw over there. And they touched Bichette, you're out. Now that's the inning that Edman went Steve Sachs on it and let a ball go underneath his glove, and the floodgates started to open a little bit. So the Jays lose by 1 in 18, and this is not indicating they wouldn't have lost. But if Bichette had been more chill and waited for the exact call and didn't leave first base, then they ended up scoring like 3 runs in that inning. It could have been a lot more. That was an early game controversy that I think absolutely plays into the outcome.
Well, it's interesting. I didn't see that part because I was trying to bounce in on Monday Night Football. By the way, it looks like Chiefs healthy. Chiefs good on offense again. Game. Yeah, and it was, I mean, the Commanders are just free falling right now, lack of health, and they get McLaurin back, which I guess is good, but your guy Zach Ertz, though, the guillotine chop was heavy.
I got chopped?
I think you got chopped.
Okay, well, you know what? That may be it for me for fantasy football, period. I lacked so much interest and or desire to play fantasy football this year. Only got in 2 leagues.
Yeah.
The Guillotine app that we're using is awful.
Apocalyptically bad.
Okay, and it's gotten a little better, but literally, it's like I got so discouraged trying to research and follow things on this app that I'm like, I'm not a big fantasy football guy in the first place, but I've just lost all my desire. I don't want to get chopped from all my leagues, which I did, but I forgot to look at Ertz last night.
No, that the app is just dreadful. It's embarrassingly bad. that they, anyway, they're just, and I had A.J. Brown. I'm looking on the app. I'm seeing projected points. I had no idea he was going to miss the game. So I took an L on that too, but I didn't take the big chop L.
Yeah.
At any rate with that, Chiefs looking good. Didn't see the ump hit. He was taking more than a real-time second. I'm noticing in bed last night to call balls and strikes, specifically the ha for a strike. Speaking of local teams that are potentially in the mix, no strikes here, but the Wolves lose last night, 127-114. Jamal Murray, 23 of his 47 points in the third quarter, blew by the Howl. Lakers in town Wednesday,
and potentially more on that around the corner as we await the arrival of Kevin O'Connell, which quite likely will happen 5 minutes from now. Hey, here's a 9 to noon alert. Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, joins 9 to noon about 5 minutes from now. Turn up your radios, put them outside so Billy, Johnny, Christy, Susie, Tamika, and Antoine, they all can run to the radio so they can hear the audio. They all run to the audio. Kevin O'Connell joins 9 to noon 5 minutes from now at FM 100.3 KFAN.